arkadaşlar merhaba. Evet, Sayın Rektörüm, değerli dekanım ve değerli dekanlarım, bütün merkezlerin müdürleri ve çok değerli öğretim üyeleri ve çok çok sevdiğimiz öğrencilerimiz. Hepiniz hoş geldiniz. Atlas Üniversitesi'ne bağlı olarak Dil Öğretimi Uygulama ve Araştırma Merkezi'nin aslında ilk konferanslar serisini bugün hep beraber dinleyeceğiz. Çok değerli bir konuğumuz var. Profesör Doktor Dita Halvaks. Graz Üniversitesi'nde, yani Avusturya'da bulunan Graz Üniversitesi'nde Dil Merkezi'nin hem müdürü hem daha da önemlisi birçok uluslararası projenin yürütücüsü, UNESCO ve Avrupa Konseyi'nin Avusturya temsilcisi. Hangi konuda? Dil uygulamaları, çok dillilik, Avrupa'da, Balkanlar'da ve neredeyse bütün dünyada bütün uluslararası projeler ondan geçiyor ve oradaki ekiple beraber çalışıyor. Çok dilli bir ortam olduğu için tabii ki her ülkeden arkadaşlar var. Ben de gençken nail olmuştum bir proje şans olarak beraber çalışma fırsatını yakalamıştım. Şimdi ise sizlere hem bu tür projeleri nasıl yürüdüğünü, özellikle de Graz Üniversitesi'ne bağlı dil merkezinde neler yapıldığını kısaca size anlatacaktım. Right, I'll just go very quickly in English so then you can understand.
I understood everything.
Okay, perfect. Since he's a polyglot, he can understand it. Right.
One or two words.
Well, welcome to the conference series of the Center of Language Research and Applications. Today we have a very distinguished guest with us. It's Professor Dr. Dita Halvaks from the University of Graz, Austria. And he's actually the president of the Center of the Language Center within the Graz University, but much more importantly, he's actually the initiator and the director of many international projects which are on language, multilingualism, language policies, and also he's a very distinguished member of the European Council and UNESCO for Austria. Well, today he's going to share his experiences and knowledge with the project that he works on, and actually how is the language and multilingualism approach in Austria, in particular in the center that he is working at. But before we start with the very important lecture, I would like to invite the rector of the Atlas University, Professor Dr. Mustafa Küçük, for a very short welcoming speech. Evet, hocam buyurun.
Good afternoon, everyone. You are welcome to our program. I am so happy to see you together here. A big thanks to each and everyone present here for joining our program. I heartily welcome to all dear teachers and students joining our program. I also want to thank Mr. Dieter Halvaks for joining our program. I hope the program will be great and successful. I hope you will enjoy the program. Thank you all the participants who worked really hard for this program. Have a good times. Thank you everyone for joining us.
So the floor is yours, Professor Halvaks.
I have to go to
We are all ears to listen to you.
Okay, it's a pleasure to be here and a pleasure to talk about so many people here. So I'm not used to this from my lectures. So there are 500 people enrolled and 100 in the hall. This is the maximum. But maybe it's because my scripts are so good, so they know how to do the examination without attending the lecture. So what I'm talking about today, the title is Plurality University Language Policy by using the example of the University of Graz. This goes back to a time when I told it to the rector already. So when we had the first female person who was of a rectorate level at the university in Austria, and she wanted to make profit for our university for my international work. So I was working for UNESCO, the Council of Europe, for the European Charter for Regional Minority Languages, and so for linguistic plurality, also with the African Academy of Languages, and with friends from South Africa. You know South Africa, who has this approach of plurality for nation building, and it is especially my late friend Neville Alexander, who had to be in jail for 10 years on Robben Island. But when he came out without any anger, he even introduced me to his prison guard. They were good friends afterwards. He tried to do something like showing that a nation also can be pluralistic. And he really infected me with this idea, and therefore plurality stands at the first side. And he made the language policy of South Africa, and I owe him a lot, just showing me that you can be 10 years in jails, you can be tortured and everything, but being still a very warm-hearted, very dedicated, and very human person. So I always say this at the beginning if I talk about plurality. So this vice rector, she founded the new language center, which is called, if you translate it, it's Meeting Point Languages, and it's a center for language, plurilingualism, and didactics. Maybe I have to say a little bit about the term plurilingualism. This is a term which, it means multilingualism, but the Council of Europe distinguishes between a multilingual country and a plurilingual person. This means if a country is multilingual, not automatically each citizen is multilingual. So this plurilingualism is more the individual aspect of multilingualism. So many in Austria is a multilingual country, but many of the citizens are monolingual German. And the plurilingual individuals, they are from minorities, and we'll see what this is. And this vice rector also asked me to think about something like a language policy for a public Austrian or European university. And I present you now this model on the example of the University of Graz, and also a little bit its implementation, because the best theory and the best model and the best policy never is implemented to 100%. Let's put it this way. Okay, so the first question is, what languages are relevant for a university? And this relevance of languages results from tradition. Yeah? This is a European university. It was founded in 1583, and the tradition, and then it turned into the tradition of the Humboldt University, of the humanistic Humboldt University. And tradition at this university are the classical and dominant languages. So classical languages in our context mean Latin, ancient Greek, and to some extent even ancient Hebrew, and at the linguistic level also Sanskrit, because we are not Turk. We are Indo-Europeans, and therefore the Indo-European tradition, when this is also the dominant languages, it's a coincidence that the dominant Indo-European languages are now world languages. This has to do with one of our greatest sins, let's call it colonialism. Yeah. So therefore we have Slavic studies, we have Roman studies, we have Germanic studies, and that's it. And some universities also have something called Finno-Ugristic, which is Hungarian and Finnish are the most, and Estonian are the most prominent languages of this. This is the tradition of the university. But the next important thing of the university is the location. This means the local, regional, and interregional linguistic diversity. Let's put it this way, and I will show you how complex this is. Local is the city of Graz, regional is Styria, and the interregional linguistic diversity goes to the east, which is Hungary, and then to the southeast, which is the Balkans, because Graz is, you will see it in the next slide, 40 kilometers away from Slovenia. I always call Graz the Northern Balkans capital, basically. because it's also this point, if refugees coming through the Balkan route want to enter Europe, Styria and Graz, which is now the region Styria, is where they want to come. If they reach this, then they have entered the Holy Land from their point of view. Most of them are sent back currently, which is also a new European sin, yeah, I call it. Okay, and the next point is the situation, and I say it's this world situation, it's the ecological situation. Global linguistic diversity is at risk. So from the 8,400 documented languages, 7,000 are spoken still. And from the 7,000 spoken languages, only 70 are dominant. This means that a language is dominant if it's the official language in a state. And these are only 70, so 1% is dominant. All the others, 99% are dominated. This means this 99% of the languages are from potentially endangered to critically endangered. Critically endangered means that only a few elders speak it. Potentially endangered means it's spoken by all generations, but there is a second language which dominates in public official domains. And there is the economical situation. There are supranational and international dominant languages which are needed to develop the economy of the country and to maintain the welfare in the country. If you go on now, I say the position. Yeah, so this is the most important thing, that you know where Graz is. Yeah, this is this little point up there. This is Graz, and you see how Graz is positioned in Europe. And I just want to show you the geopolitical position of Graz. From Graz to Slovenia, it's 40 kilometers. To the city of Maribor, 60. Hungary, 70, 90. Croatia, it's 100 kilometers. Italy, 150. Let's do it by crow, yes? Not by car. And there are 7 countries and 7 cities, main cities in countries, which are closer to Graz than the westernmost country of Austria, which is Bregenz. And in a circle of 650 kilometers, you have 11 countries by crow. Yeah? Let's put it this way. And there you see the position of, and this is the most important position. And it has also to do something with language politics at the university, for languages to be taught, because this is where our students come from, many of them. And if we go to the next slide, we will see the regional historic language situation of Graz, or of Styria, which is the county. And Styria is now part of two countries, because Lower Styria is now part of Slovenia, and there it's called Steierska. So, and this also shows the regional and historic language situation of the region. This means we have Slovene German, we have a rural-urban distribution. In the 6th century, when the Romans people have left, Celtic people have left, and all the Germanic tribes went over and went to Italy, like today, but in these days, not for holidays, just for looting. We had a Slavic kingdom, a Slavic reign from the 6th century. And when the eastern people from the eastern part came, so the Hungarians, the Avars, that we call them the Huns, basically, then the Slovenian reign was very much under pressure, and they made a very big mistake. They called in the Bavarians, and the Bavarians came and took over, and like, you know, it's Bayern München. No, the thing is that the Bavarians took over, and therefore we had something like a rural-urban distribution. The more rural, the more German; the more urban, the more Slavic. And there you have already the scaling in between, and also a north-south continuum. You must know that the Slavic reign in Austria went over the Alps to the Danube Valley, because we know it from place names. Then we had the Hungarians who came from the east. This is now a neighboring language, which is irrelevant. In the 15th century, from the 15th century on, we have Romani people, Chingena, who are, but it's a bad word now. So no, have to be very careful. I have many Roma friends because I worked with Romani for years and years and years. They are a marginalized minority, they're irrelevant. Then came a time in the New Age, at the beginning of the Renaissance, when the Styrian nobility was so rich that they invited Italian Renaissance architects to build their palaces. Therefore, Graz is an Italian Renaissance city. The largest Renaissance courtyard outside of Italy is in Graz. And it's the building where the nobility came together to reign the county. So we have this Renaissance influence, and this Renaissance influence we have until now. You pass by buildings and you read ballet in Sagi and all the kind of stuff. And there was always a close contact with Italy, and this close contact we also have today economically, because in Graz, it's a high-tech town, not only a university town. You will see 300,000 inhabitants, 90,000 students, and it's a high-tech place where most of the posh four-wheel drives and the new power chains of are built. And they are collaborating with Italian companies. So I have some friends who worked before with Ferrari and now are working in Graz and developing the new cars. So my boss's friend, so I'm not the boss of the language center, this is a woman. And there's a very good friend of mine and her partner. He is currently constructing the new Sony electro car. This is done in Graz. Yeah? Therefore, this Italian influence and this international aspect in the city is still strong. And when Napoleon came, the city fortress resisted him. Therefore, he blew up the most part of it. But he left some officers who married into Graz nobility and Graz bourgeoisie. So therefore, we have also this French aspect in the city, and one of the most prominent family of Graz, its name is Arnoncourt. This was a famous conductor, Nicolaus Arnoncourt. So you see, this is this regional historic language situation, because this Italian contribution, it's a Slavic basis with a Bavarian dominance, a Hungarian and Romani marginalization, and an Italian and French prestige, which came to this city. If we go on now, this doesn't work. A situation of languages in Graz currently. You see, Slovene is dominated. You don't hear it. It's not visible. It has no prestige. But it's an official minority language of Austria. German has all the dominance. Italian and French and English and the others are to some extent in the usage like Slovene. But their visibility is higher than except of the others because they have prestige. So this is this language situation in Graz, and therefore Graz is called the German city. But if you look at the name of Graz, it's Gradec, like Beograd. Grad is fortress or town, and Gradec is the little fortress or town. It's also called Steirisch Graz, and the other one in Slovenia is called Windisch Graz, which was one of the most noble families in the Austrian history. If we go on, what happened to Styria and Graz from the 19th century on? So plurality is always caused by urbanization and migration. And just to give you an impression how this urbanization and migration went here, from 1850s onwards, we have an intensified urbanization because the Austrian emperors had a civil war, and they had to do something. So the cities got more power, and the farmers were allowed to go to the cities. So the urbanization intensified in the 1850s. Then, post-World War I, when our empire collapsed, as yours, we are brothers in loss. The immigration of imperial officials and ethnic Germans to Graz was really extremely intensive. So at this time, Graz was called Pensionopolis, because many of these retired officials from the former empire went to Graz to live there. And Slavic people left Graz because Austria was at this time called German Austria, Deutsch Österreich. And this meant, because everybody thought that the Germanic rest of the German rest of Austria cannot survive as a nation. And therefore, Hitler, who was Austrian, had an easy game, yeah? So to come back. And there is not only German fascism, there is also Austro-fascism, yeah? And Austro-fascism, we had a civil war in 1934. And from this time on, socialists and and even conservative politicians were jailed and all the kind of stuff, yeah? So we were prepared for what was coming. And just to confess it, we were the better Nazis all the time. Because, yeah, really, because if you take the number of Nazi criminals compared to the number of population, Austria is much, much better than Germany. Okay, so is nobody from the Austrian embassy here? Hopefully, no. Good. Okay. So I really okay. After post-World War I, too, we had immigration of ethnic Germans because the ethnic Germans living in the Balkans, yes, like the Danube Swabians, like the ones in Romania and all, they came back to Austria. So the immigration of ethnic Germans came, and we had something like a Germanization with covert multilingualism. Because even the ethnic Germans who came back were multilingual. So I know it from my divorced father-in-law. Let's put it this way, ex-father-in-law. Okay, he came back and he spoke Serbian, yeah? And he spoke Hungarian, but he was Danube Swabian, and therefore, so we had this Germanization again, and if we look on how it was going on in the second phase, from the 1950s onwards, we had a lot of migrants from Eastern Europe, but also from the Middle East. We have a big Iranian community in Graz, which is very well established, which is there since the 1950s. They came as students and they became carpet dealers, and now they are, or medical doctors. Yeah, these are the two jobs which they have. Okay, and also Egyptians, many Egyptians. Then from the 1960s onwards, your people came. We have the labor migration from Turkey and from Yugoslavia. So this is a problem until now, because we all think that Turkey is like our Turkish migrant workers, which is quite a problem for the perception of Turkey from our point of view. Then from the 1960s, 1970s onwards, we have migrants from various conflict zones. Yeah, we have Sorani-speaking people from Iraq. We have people from African zones. We have people we have big East African and West African communities in Graz, which came at this time. If I go on, then we had intensified migration from Eastern Europe, the refugees from ex-Yugoslavia, and from the 2000s on, an intensified south-north migration, which affected Graz quite. I see it positively. So if I go now with my grand dog, which is a beagle, my doctor's dog, so if I'm living in the very center of the city, and if I go out at night, midnight, I don't hear a German word anymore. Because this is also the young people from the refugee communities are crowding the streets because they have bad living conditions at home. They are happy to be outside. Yeah? So therefore, we have a lot of fun. They are nice to my dog, and I'm nice to them. So we have a good coexistence. You see, in this brought a transition from covert to an informal overt multilingualism, because before, you did not hear other languages in the street. Now you go to the tram, you go to places, you go to restaurants, you hear a variety of languages, and this is this informal overt multilingualism, which is also reflected in policy. And this overt multilingualism results from this covert multilingualism, which was always there, only the Germanization was only something superficial, from the geopolitical position of Graz, which I showed you before, from the socioeconomic development. Yeah? So Graz industry needs workers. They even these big car companies, which are building the four-wheel drives for Porsche, Mercedes, and what Chrysler and all the kind of stuff, they need workers. These workers are brought by buses from Slovenia, Croatia, Serbia every day to Graz to work there. And some of them stay there. And also these other socioeconomic developments, and we have fun. I found when we were looking how many languages are spoken in Graz, I found a family in Graz who has as internal family language Konkani. You know what this is? It's an Indo-Aryan language spoken in Goa, where all the hippies want to live. Yeah? After Vasco da Gama, as I call him, went there, all the hippies want to go there. Yeah? So they are speaking Konkani because there is an engine developing company in Graz, which is long established. And he's from Tatra, yeah? So from this Indian automotive company, and he came there to develop engines for Tatra in this. And then his wife came, and then they got children. And if they got children, they needed somebody to take care of the children. Now parents came, and mothers and fathers-in-law came, and then the grandparents came. And now they have a big house outside Graz, and the family language is Konkani. So therefore, it's now a language of Graz. Yeah, let's put it this way: this is the socioeconomic development which contributed also to the social-cultural development. Yeah, so I call Graz the capital of the Northern Balkans because there is a lot of cultural activities from former Yugoslavia which are going on. And you know, there is one language which is now abandoned, and they made 4 languages out of it. It was called Serbo-Croatian. But in Austria, this is still a language because, I mean, the migrant communities, they still speak Serbo-Croatian. And there is even a TV channel which broadcasts in Serbo-Croatian. It's called XU. So YU. So, yeah. This is the social-cultural development which contributes, and a very open political climate. Graz, we have now a communist mayor, and she's a woman, and they only came into power because they were the only one who was doing social things for the people. Even my bank director, usually very conservative, said to me, the only party I can vote for are the communists because they are the only ones doing something for the people. This ended up as just a bon mot. That's the guy who established this kind of policy in Graz. When Graz became the cultural capital of Europe in 2003, it was the last capital of Europe, which was only one. They were thinking, since then we have very posh architecture, an artificial island in a mountain creek, which is the Moor, it's nothing else, and all the kind of stuff. And he said, culture is more than this kind of culture, what you want. And we have still apartments for workers which have no water in the apartment, only on the outside and so on. And I want that we use this money for giving these people inside toilets and bathrooms. And he succeeded. And since then, all the bathrooms which were built for 2003 cultural capital have one tile where it's written Graz, cultural capital of Europe 2003. And such things made them really, really prominent in the city because these are good things. Therefore, we have a communist mayor, but before we had a socialist mayor, and I say socialist really because now the Austria have a social democrats party, but he was a real socialist, one of the last socialists, and he was very open-minded to refugees. So, and therefore we have African communities. So Graz always took more people than average Austria because of this mayor. His opponents are saying he only was so open-minded to Africans because his daughter had sex with the Negro. But just to tell you what's really going on underneath in such a city. Yeah? Really, you can hear it in the streets. Okay, but this open political climate, and he was almost 20 years a mayor, he contributed a lot to this overt multilingualism. Graz is today, it has 300,000 inhabitants. It's a city of 150 languages, which are used in the city. And we did it already. We did it together with colleagues from London. So looking into the multilingualism of the city, London has approximately between 400 and 500. Paris between 300 and 400. A friend of mine who is doing it in New York he documented 800 languages in use in New York City. So this is the today an informal overt multilingualism which we have in all world cities, yeah, in the end. Okay, what is really allowed on plurality in Austria? I show you the Austrian Constitution from 1920, which was amended in 2004. The German language is without prejudice to the right established by federal constitution law, the state language of the Republic. Article 2, the Republic acknowledges the grown linguistic and cultural diversity that finds its expression in the autochthonous ethnic groups. Language and culture, existence and preservation of these ethnic groups shall be respected, secured, and fostered. If we think that the first constitution which had multilingualism was the Austrian December Constitution of 1867, where Austria, after the uprisals, said that each ethnic group has the right to use its languages, and this resulted in the translation of all parliamentary papers into 7 languages in Imperial Austria. So there it was seen as something positive. Yeah? Here it's already seen we allow it. Yeah? So there we execute it. It's part of our being, and here it's an allowance. So this is the difference. I mean, I could go into this about the Treaty from Saint-Germain and the Austrian State Treaty after 1956, when we drank Khrushchev and Stalin underneath the table and became independent and all the kind of stuff. Yeah. In 2005, Austrian Sign Language was recognized as an independent language. This is also now the way the UNESCO goes, so that we UNESCO. I'm working for UNESCO in this thing. UNESCO says there is human language, and human language has 2 modes: spoken and signed, and they are equal. Yeah? And they are equal. And we always think this has only to do with deaf people. But if you go to Africa, to Australia, and so on, and you have villages where it's because of a disease, there are many deaf there. Both the hearing ones and the deaf ones, they use sign language, are proficient in sign language. So it's a really, and it's a full, it's a language like spoken language. It has, I mean, I did not believe it until I had to do an MA examination with a young woman who was working on sign languages. And she was so good that the first time I understood this is a language in its full beauty and power. Yeah. So this, and if you hear Turkish Sign Language is not based on Turkish. It's the sign language used in Turkey. Yeah, it has nothing to do with the language Turkish. And this is always such a thing we have to separate in our brains. Okay, man, I just show you now how these recognized ethnic communities look like. They are 6. Let's start with the Slovaks from the 5th century. I told you the Slavs were there before the Germans came. Slovenes in the 6th century, Hungarians in the 9th century, a little bit later, almost at the same time as the Bavarians came. Then Czech in the 13th century, because if this guy would have had children, the Habsburgs never would have come. We would have left them in Switzerland, and they would have been erased by Wilhelm Tell, you know. So. Okay. And Burgenland Croatian, they came in the 16th century, and they came because of you, yeah? So because the Hungarian nobility had a lot of land in Croatia, and this was the war border to the Ottoman Empire. And on the other hand, the Hungarian nobility found out, oh, we can make money out of our land, because it was a very prosperous time, and there was trade between Ukraine and Venice, and Venice, they were the trade company, not one of these space. They transported all these things through the known world, and the Hungarians said, okay, we have huge estates also in Hungary, and because Burgenland was Hungarian until 1921, on these fringes to the Austrian Empire,
and it's empty there. So let's take our farmers and up there and make them productive for our wealth. Therefore, these Burgenland Croatians came in the 16th century. And Romani came in the 15th century because from this time on, Roma were equally distributed over all European territory. And they are the last one who got this this position of a recognized ethnic community. It was only in 1993. All the others, the Hungarians and the Slovenes were already, and the Croatians were already there. Recognition was already fixed in the peace treaty of Saint-Germain. I always say, if I come to Saint-Germain, Olé, and get out of RERA in Paris, I always have to go like this, because there is the bellies of Louis XIII, and I always say, oh, that's why they humiliated us. Yeah. Okay, but this was already fixed there, and the Czechs and the Czech and the Slovaks came later, because you know where the oldest German university is? It's Charles University in Prague. The cultural center of the Germanic world in the 14th, 15th century was Prague, and not Vienna. And don't talk about Berlin. Yeah, this came later. So it was really Prague. So these are these, and you see the census 2001. There is no census now in Austria anymore, because each country should do a census every 10 years. The Austrians decided we don't need a census because we have our population so good under surveillance that we have even more data about them as we would get from a census. This is really the case. Yeah. So not only China monitors its population in a good way. Europe is even the same. The only thing is that we don't use so much the Israeli spyware. Okay. Sorry, Shireen, I start to behave now. Okay, if you look now at foreign grads in 2019, yeah, and you see 300,000 inhabitants, and you see that more than 15% of the population of Graz are not Austrian. Yeah, they even have a non-Austrian citizenship, and you see it's and these are the numbers we know. Yeah, you see there is a lot of plurality in Graz, and this plurality is also reflected in Styria. Yeah, so usually we say it's only urban, the plurality. Urbanization is going rural in the meantime. Yeah. And this we see also in our research. We went to a little Styrian town, and we found out that there are 2 big farmhouses which were sold to foreigners. And first, this was an uproar in this village, in this little city. Now they got used to it, and we looked at which languages are used there. Yeah, in one farmhouse, one extended family lives. Their family language is Chechen. They are from Chechnya. In the other farmhouse, the language used is Oirat Kalmyk, a Mongolian language. Yeah? When the 2 extended families come together, they speak Russian. And if their kids go to school, they learn German and are talking German with their peers. So this is also reflected already in the county of Styria, because, as I said, urbanization goes rural. This is the 21st century approach. And if you look, this was basically done by us. We were asked from the Styrian government to do something. What languages are you using in conversation? And you see what we got. Yeah? So Croatian, English, Turkish, Serbian, down to Dari, Farsi. Dari, and we have to put together Dari and Farsi because we have the Iranian population, because you are looking at this, who speak Farsi, yeah, but they can't write Farsi anymore, and therefore they feel as defective Iranians, because Iranian has a very high culture which is connected with written culture. Therefore, we are offering at our language center Iranian courses, Farsi courses for the old Iranian population of Graz, just to make them equal to their cousins home in Tehran and Isfahan and so on. Yeah. Okay, but you see, this is the situation of languages in conversation. If we go one step further, we have something like mother tongue education. This means pupil can volunteer, or the parents can say, we want our children that they learn another language in school. And there is also Bosnian, Croatian, Serbian we have together because we call it PCS in Austria. I sometimes call it BCSM, Bosno-Croatian SM. Yeah, you can think you can interpret this word as you want. Serbian, Montenegrin, for sure. Yeah, you see, this is this. And then we went into something like we were looking the social relevance of languages in the city of Graz by the population groups and by the numbers. And we were also looking how is the age distribution among the communities. Yeah. So because the more children are speaking the language, the more socially relevant it is. Because they go to school, they bring maybe another language of socialization to the school, and the teachers don't know why they make mistakes in German and all the kind of stuff. Yeah. So we made this ranking, and you see, this is quite nicely reflects the 15 to 20% in Graz, which I said Konkani has no social relevance, yeah, because these kids they come from a socially very, very established family, because the father earns a lot of money. They are highly educated. The wife is also has a university degree, and their second language is English, coming from Konkani, and they even speak Marathi because and Hindi and all the kind of stuff. Yeah, or we have, for example, our East African people there. I had one coworker, and she was from Kenya. Her mother tongue was Luo, which is a Nilotic language. But the neighboring village spoke Kikuyu, which is a Bantu language. She also spoke Swahili, which is the lingua franca of whole East Africa. She spoke English because English is the official prestige language also used at universities. As she was going through Europe, she spoke excellently German. She spoke French and Spanish. And as she had an Egyptian husband, she also spoke Arabic. Okay, so they don't show up here, yeah, because if their children go to school, they even in kindergarten, they already learn German. And just to help the school system, we have one obligatory kindergarten year now, where children are prepared for the school. And if parents want, they also can have a second one before, just to get the kids out. I call it to get the kids out of their ethnic ghettos. Yeah, because what we did is especially with our migrant workers, we brought them in and we wanted them to work for us, but we forgot, like the French with their banlieues, we forgot that these people, that this is not human capital. These are human beings, and human beings want to live and to reproduce. Yeah, and we did not expect this, and then we also exploited them. Yeah, we gave them the worst housing situation for the highest money possible, and therefore we ghettoized them. And this ghettoization was also strengthened by the fact that most of these migrant workers, they did not come from the Turkish cities. They came from the Anatolian villages. And when they came into these Western European countries, it's the same like in the Netherlands with Moroccans. Yeah, and Netherlands sociologists said they came from the donkey via the airplane from a village in the Atlas Mountains to a city of Amsterdam. They got shocked. They got shocked and they did not know what to do. Therefore, they clung to what they have brought with them. And therefore, they have brought a very conservative rural culture with them. And they dogmatized this rural conservative culture and went with this rural conservative culture into a ghetto. And this is also what happened to our Turkish populations in Austria and Germany. Yeah? So there is no study about this, but this Dutch study shows it really nicely. And he really starts from the donkey to the jet, and from the reef village to the city of Amsterdam and Rotterdam. So, and this is a real problem, and this is a crime what we did. Yeah, we used their workforce and forgot that they are human beings. We always were pretending to integrate them, but never made them a real integration offer. And this is also reflected in this, and also reflected in the language policy at the university, if we go on. It's also very important, and now I come to the economic part, Austria's most important trade partners in export and import. You see, there are also language needs encoded in this. Then, Austria is a tourism land. We have to show the overnight stays in Graz. Where do they come from? This is also important for a language policy. And after saying all this, I show you that Austrian companies said what language needs they have. Yeah. So if they say most of our staff has to speak French, yeah, this is only 3%. But you see, it goes down to Portuguese, Chinese, Turkish. 4% of the companies say that they need somebody with competence in Turkish. Because when you know if you go up to Austria by car, 30% of the trucks are Turkish trucks, bringing your good vegetables to us. Okay, and many other things. So also these things, such things are important for a language policy of a university. And therefore, our university, University of Graz regularly offers these, I think, 23 languages. And you see, we differentiate between language courses and degree programs. Degree programs is where you go bachelor, master, PhD. Language courses are these are language courses offered. And you see that this is quite well reflected. Arabic, Bosnian, there are our minority languages like Burgenland, Croatian, Romani, Czech, Slovene. There are the world languages, English, French. There are the Austrian Sign Language. We also have Chinese. Is it here? It should be here. We also have future, so Mandarin. We are teaching Mandarin. We are teaching Japanese and Korean, and all the kind of stuff. So these are the 23 languages regularly taught at Graz University. And if you go to the language center, and I'm now a little bit in a hurry, therefore I don't show you our webpage. 5 minutes, I can talk. You know, I have innate logorrhea. I can talk forever. Okay, this is the courses, the language courses we offer at Treffpunkt Sprachen. It's called the Center for Language Plurilingualism and Didactics. We have courses covering up to 25 languages regularly. This means per semester, we have more than 100 courses. Our staff is, I asked Šefica, my boss, before I came here, and I said, how many teachers do we have? And she said, I know that you are so ignorant not to know, it's 77. So we have 77 lecturers in languages there. The courses are fee-based and open to the public. So we take money. So if the Faculty of Humanities comes to us and says, we need introductory courses for the study of Romance languages, then we ask them which one. They never will say Romanian, yeah? So what we would like to have. They say French and Italian, and if they a little bit, and Spanish, because they are not teaching there the languages, they are teaching the imagined prestige of these former empires, yeah? Which is where we should be very careful with language teaching doing such things. Then they have to pay us, yeah? They really have to pay us. The faculties have to pay us that we do their languages. Therefore, we are something like we are directly under the rectorate. We have a higher status than a faculty. And we are also an inter-university center, because we are also providing language courses for the technical university and for the medical university. And we are also providing, I can tell you that and show it to you afterwards. So the courses follow the Common European Framework of Reference for Languages. You know, this is this 8A1 to C2, what Council of Europe developed as a self-evaluation for the learner, and European Union turned into a tool of measuring abilities. So we have also courses in Latin and Greek. We teach Latin and classical Greek because these are supplementary things. If you want to study law or medicine, you have to have a Latin competence. Greek you need only for comparative linguistics. There we also do Sanskrit, but not regularly. We have also courses for German as a foreign language with entry exams. Currently, we offer special courses for Ukrainians, the German courses for Ukrainians, because we realize that among the Ukrainian, mostly women, young women who are coming to Graz, many students are, and many academics are. And just to give them a possibility to come into the economical way, we said to the NGOs who are doing this, if you find out there is a student or if you find out an academic, send them to us. We do special courses for them. But usually we also do it for all students who want to study at Graz University. And we do courses for the university staff. So the university staff gets language courses at our center, because if Graz wants to be an international university, the staff should know English. And now we are also saying the staff should also know the languages of our students they come in. They don't want Turkish until now, but we will sure be able to implement this too. So and say, okay, if our students are coming from Southeastern Europe and the Middle East, the staff, there should be somebody in the staff speaking the language. Because then they end up in my office, because this is, if you enter our department, this is there. And then I had a lot of, from 2015-16, I had a lot of young women who wanted to learn German immediately to be able to study at Graz University. So therefore, but I have a friend who is an expert in Farsi and Dari and all the kind of stuff. So we made something even private for them. This is now, if I don't go to the link, then you would see what we are doing currently. The center has 3 axes. First of all, we do language teaching. But many of our teachers, not all from the 77, but I think 15 or so, are also involved in the didactics research unit. So they are using their experience to improve in research our approaches to language teaching. And this is a very, very productive thing. And this is a very, very close connection, you see. And then we have, I call this, the language teaching unit is the super tanker, and this is the freight ship, and now comes the pirate ship. This is my unit. It's the plurilingualism research unit, where we document something like the multilingualism of the city of Graz, of Styria. We are going all in this language policy, saying we do language documentation. We are documenting minority languages and bringing them and developing them for teaching and all the kind of stuff. So this is the plurilingualism research unit, and the plurilingual research unit also contributes to language teaching, because because of our network, we are doing courses for Romani, we are doing courses for Sephardic, one of the languages of Turkey, in the end, one of the official languages mentioned in the Treaty of Lausanne. Judeo-Spanish is it. And we are doing courses for Yiddish. Then a friend of mine comes and is doing a course for Michif. This is a mixed language which developed between French fur traders and Cree women. And all the kind of, when we are doing such things, or I invite somebody from African studies, and we are doing Swahili, and we are doing such languages. And we also are collaborating with the didactics research unit, because many of these minorities ask us, how can we teach our languages? Yeah? And therefore we need their experience deepen. And so we developed for the Council of Europe, for example, language tools for Romani from A1 to B2 for 8 or 9 different Romani dialects. And this, we were dependent on our didactics research unit. And just to show you where this all happens, it's this old house. It's a Findes Jekyll villa as a botanical garden. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
Sorry,
thank you very much.
Sorry for being so.
Can you hear me? Okay. Thank you very much, Professor Halvat. It was a very comprehensive talk. And at the same time, I'm very happy to see here students that are coming from different backgrounds. Yes, can I see the hands? Yes. And they're all trying to learn Turkish, but at the same time, different languages as well. So I do believe that this presentation made you feel that actually being a polyglot or knowing more than one languages is an asset and something that you have to cherish and maybe even try to learn more, because aside of the professions that you will take, some of you will be doctors, some of you will be architects, engineers, whatever. But at the same time, being a person with different languages means being a person of the world. So it means that you will have the chances to exercise your knowledge of the profession that you will take in the world around. So I do believe that this was very helpful for you as well. And also I would like to say thank you to Professor Halivax for being very self-criticizing and very open-minded and being a real academic, aside from the political issues in the world, and really looking as a sociolinguist who is trying to cherish the vitality of the languages around the world, and at the same time respect even the singlest person, a speaker of a single language in the world. So thank you again very much. And I'm also very thankful to you for your patience. You were wonderful. And if we have any questions, then I do believe you're happy to answer.
Yeah, maybe I have to add something, because I forgot to say, the students who are coming to our courses for Swahili and for Korean and for Chinese, for Arabic, also Turkish and so on, they are not philological studies. They are not studying philology. They come from the technical university, from the law faculty, from the economic faculties and so on, to learn this, because they realize the more of these languages they know, the higher their chances of getting a good job. Sorry that I forgot this, but you remind me.
Okay. Do we have any questions? Yes, please.
In Austria, it's quite different. So most of them, the Austrians have their, I tell it to you historically. 1956 was the Hungarian uprising. Yeah, there within 2 weeks, I think there came more than 300,000 people via Austria. They were welcomed by everybody. We helped them. We were very poor because World War II was over only 10 years. After some times, they said, but they should move on. Yeah, so because then the German arrogance, yeah, what we have, we feel Germanic, and I can give you an example of my family. I'm from a Germanic family, and and my grandmothers was trilingual, Hungarian, Croatian, and German. The other grandmother was also trilingual, Czech, Hungarian, German. My mother was bilingual, Hungarian, German. My aunt was bilingual, Croatian, German. But the moment they married into this family, no language was, the children only were raised with German. So I was raised completely monolingual in a multilingual environment. And this is the German arrogance, as I say. And then this comes, yeah, and they say, and this is a political issue. So our right-wing parties, and this is now almost common sense policies, say they are taking away our jobs. They are getting money they are getting money for nothing, and I have to work, and all the kind of things. So therefore, these refugees are not welcomed at all. Yeah, they are a nuisance. And there is also the problem that we don't allow refugees to work. Yeah? Ukrainians are allowed to work immediately because they are white. And I say some nasty things. So what's happening currently is the more black and the more far away a war, the more we don't care. Yeah, the white and the closer, and so on. They are not allowed to work. So the young people, the young refugees, are seen in the streets. They have bad living conditions. They have no job. They have nothing to do. So you see them in the streets. So they are seen as a danger to our young women, and a danger for our labor market. In the end, without migrant workers, our economies don't function, because no Austrian is doing the works these people are ready to do. Yeah, so it's a complete different climate, which is completely separated from the reality. We need migration to survive, to keep our welfare, to keep our businesses going, to even keep our pension system going. Yeah, because they are more contributing to social. They are more contributing to social welfare than getting out of it. Even this is all done. They are. We have this ethnic scaling. Yeah. So I can tell it from the region I come. This is the East Austrian border, the Burgenland. German, Hungarian, Croatian, Gypsy. And the Jews, if they were rich Jews, they were between the Germans and the Hungarians. If they were poor Jews, they were among the Gypsies. But they are all gone, yeah, because we had our history. So, and this is a pattern you find all over Europe, and not all over Europe. You even find it in countries like Bangladesh, yeah. The ones who are coming and having nothing are first sometimes welcomed, yeah, because we are so good humans, but basically they are hated, and everybody wants to get rid of them unless they don't integrate completely and do what we want. But then we only take a certain number. So sorry for this openness, but this is Europe. This is Europe in the 21st century, and you know that big European politicians already in the 1970s were saying, if we are not able to solve the North-South divide, this planet will explode politically. Yeah. And we are getting closer and closer to it, and our behavior towards refugees reflects this problem. And this also has to do with languages, yeah? So I once had to do on the Austrian broadcasting thing, I had to do it so that people could call and talk about plurilingualism. And the most people called it, I can't stand it anymore if I'm going in the tram in Vienna and there are some people, you know, dark hair and the women sometimes look weird with their scarves and all the kind of stuff. And then they are talking in a language I don't understand. And I said, maybe they don't want you to understand. But you see what's going on here. If they would talk English or Spanish or French or even Japanese, yeah, they would be delighted. But if they talk a Balkan language or a Turk language, or, you know, this is the main problem. And therefore, what I said at the beginning, I'm so grateful that somebody showed me this principle of politics of plurality, that you can play with languages, or as Charles Taylor said in this book, Multiculturalism or the Politics of Recognition. Yeah, if I don't accept you, I can't expect that you respect me. And this is so easy. Yeah, these are basic human concepts. Yeah?
Any other questions? Yes, please.
Okay, thank you very much for this, but I have to be nasty. This article was imposed on us. Yeah.
Well, now I would like to invite the Rector of Aklas University, Professor Mustafa Küçük, and at the same time, the Dean of the Faculty of Humanities and Social Sciences, Professor Gülşen Sayın. So we have a little token of appreciation to give to Professor Handvax for sharing his wonderful views with us. Yes.
Yes, thank you very much. Okay. Teşekkürler. Okay. Thank you very much. Oh, blue is my favorite color. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Right, maybe we can take a photo together.
Yeah, so you know I'm a black magician. You only get white spots. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Well, that was wonderful.
Oh, it's great. Thank you. You are satisfied, my lady? Okay. As long as Shirin Hanan is satisfied.
Yeah, very gifted linguist.
Yes.
This is my, you know.